When you're working in AutoCAD in your Model tab is infinite. Now, previous exercises we set the units. We now need to set what is known as our limits. What we're going to do is we're going to set ourselves a boundary in the infinite model space to work in. So, let's have a look at the square we've got down here. That is a square created with the rectangle command here. And it's created what they call a rectangular polyline with equal sides. Now those sides are 500 units by 500 units. They could be millimeters, meters, kilometers, it doesn't matter right now. Basically what we're going to do now is we're going to set our boundary, our limits. The quickest way to set your limits is to type the word limits. So we type LIMITS. On the dynamic input, it appears on the screen there, so I press enter. And it's now prompting me to reset my model space limits from the default settings. So we need to specify the lower left corner of our boundary in our infinite model space. We're going to utilize the origin, which is 0, 0, 0. So I type 0 there in that box there, and I can hit the tab key or the comma key. If I press tab or comma, it takes me to the Y coordinate. So I type 0 again. And notice if I just keep pressing tab, it toggles between the X and Y coordinates there. Once you've got 0 in both the X coordinate box and the Y coordinate box, you press enter. You're then prompted to specify your upper right corner. Now you'll notice there, the default values in the grey in the little arrow brackets are 5000 by 5000. So that's the previous setting that somebody might have set in this drawing or within AutoCAD. It could even be the default settings, but we need to set those values. Now what I'm going to do here is use the same values. It doesn't matter whether they are the default values or not. What I'm going to do is just show you how to set new values. So again, in the X coordinate box we type 5000. And it's just like the previous part of the command. Hit the tab key or the comma key, takes you to the Y coordinate box, and we put 5000 in there as well. So tab toggles between X and Y coordinate like so, and you just type the values in and then press enter. You have now set your limits within the infinite model space in AutoCAD. How do we check that? Well, what we've got to do now is we've got to make sure that we use some zoom commands. Now, if I do a zoom extents, which is over here on the navigation bar, here we are. If I click on that down arrow there, there's my menu. I want zoom extents. So if I click on zoom extents, that will zoom to the extent of the visible drawn objects on the screen. So as you can see now, my 500 by 500 square is now filling the screen because that's the only visible object on the screen. If I go back to the navigation bar now and select Zoom All, something kind of weird happens. Basically what's happened there is AutoCAD has resized the screen based on our boundary settings. Can you see that green line there? And that red line there? The red line indicates the X-axis, the green line the Y-axis. So as you can see, that's our 5000 by 5000. Our 0, 0 is where the green and the red intersect. And if we come up here diagonally, our 5000 by 5000 is about here somewhere. Now, if you look at the coordinate readout on the screen, look down here. Can you see on the coordinates? If I hover just about here, you can see they're pretty close to 0 as I get closer and closer to that intersection. As I come up this way, you'll see they get closer to 5000 and even go over 5000. That's because AutoCAD has resized that based on this distance here. So it's 5000 high, but obviously there's a bit of space either side because it's a rectangular drawing area. So there is actually a square, 5000 by 5000, in the model space, and every time I do a zoom all here, so I click, get the menu, do a zoom all on the navigation bar, it will always go to that. But if I zoom extents, that zooms to the extents of the visible drawn objects in the model space. So that's why you set your limits, so that you can do a zoom all and zoom to that boundary that you've set in the infinite model space.